Go the Distance, Chapter 8, War. Meg knew it was Athena the moment she saw her. Like most Greeks, she had seen many statues depicting the god, who appeared with an owl perched on her toned shoulders and a shield at the ready at one hand. She used her other to point directly at Meg. "Where did you get that flute, mortal?" Athena stood before them on the edge of the cliff, her back to the sun. Her lavender body seemed to glow, the silver in her headdress and gauntlets practically fluorescent. She wore an armored breastplate over her dress and a navy blue helmet that offset her sky blue hair. Her dark eyes looked anything but pleased. Pegasus shuffled side to side restlessly, and Phil was as still as a statue as Athena approached. "I asked you a question. Where did you get my flute?" Meg quickly came to her senses and spoke up. "I retrieved it from the Empusa, who hid it from you on the island of Confucia." Athena took a step back, and it felt as though she were sizing Meg up. "You? A mortal stole my flute from an Empusa?" Phil bleated involuntarily. "Hard to believe, Athena, I know, considering she had no training from me, the great Philoctetes. But that's a story she gave me, too." "Thanks, Phil," Meg said dryly. "It's true, though as you can see, I could have used some help." She gestured with her bandaged arms. "Are you here to offer some guidance?" "That depends," Athena said. "What is it you want, Megara?" She knows who I am. "What do I want?" Meg repeated, unsure. "Yes." Athena moved closer and looked her in the eye. "What is it you want?" The god enunciated every word. Meg thought carefully before answering. "What I want is to know the next part of my quest. Are you here to tell me?" Athena sighed impatiently. "And why do you want to know?" The god wasn't making sense. So I can finish my quest, Meg thought, but somehow she knew that was not what Athena wanted to hear. "So she can be with Hercules," Phil finally blurted out. He shot Meg a look. "How can you not understand the question?" "Is that what you want, Megara? To be with Hercules and be a god as he is?" Athena asked, her voice tight. Say yes, Meg thought. But if she catches you sounding unsure, she'll know. She's a god. She knows everything. "I think so." Phil slapped a hand over his eyes, but Athena looked surprisingly delighted. "Finally, a real answer." Athena's owl began to hoot. "I appreciate your honesty, Megara, but the truth will only take you so far." She pointed a finger at Meg's chest. "You are a mortal who does not know what she wants, and because of that you lack purpose. Where is your drive? How do you expect to complete a quest, such as this one, if you have nothing to fight for?" "I have promise and drive," Meg said grudgingly, folding her arms across her chest. "Do you?" Athena asked almost mockingly. "Is that why you played my flute so beautifully when given the chance? We both know you know how to play." "You do?" Phil questioned. "It kind of sounded like you didn't. No offense." Meg's cheeks colored slightly. "I don't play anymore." "Not because you can't, but because you have lost your will," Athena pointed out. "Therein lies the problem." "Why don't you play anymore?" Phil asked. Meg brushed him off. "That's not important." Athena's eyes flashed. "On the contrary, it's very important. You are going to war, Megara, and in war one must have the will to fight for what they want, or they will fall in battle as swiftly as a sword cuts through the air." Meg stifled a laugh, careful not to offend the god in front of her. "What do I want?" she asked herself. "I care for Hercules, but we've just started to get to know each other. How do I know I want to be with him forever? And how do I actually know I even make a decent god? That's a pretty big commitment, too. When have those ever worked out for me?" "Good," Athena nodded appraisingly. "Finally, we're getting somewhere. Without questioning where you've been, you'll never understand where you must go." Meg tried not to look shocked, so Athena could hear her thoughts. She supposed it made sense. She had prayed to the gods for answers before. One just happened to be standing in front of her now. "Wait, did I miss something?" Phil asked. Both women ignored him. "But how do I know what I want without having the time to figure it out?" Meg questioned. "War waits for no one," Athena said. You have a deadline. To find answers, you must look to both the past and future for guidance. Meg wasn't sure what she understood. How was someone supposed to understand something like love? How would she know what she wanted out of Hercules, out of herself? How could she be a god like Athena when she did not know the answer to these questions? Yes, like that, Athena said, again seeming to hear her thoughts. The more questions, the better. I want to see the fire in your belly, Megara. I know you have it, or you would not have been able to beat that Impusa. The god studied Meg. Perhaps Hera was right to put her faith in you. If you do as I say, you'll do well on the journey ahead. Meg inhaled sharply. The next part of her quest. What do I have to do? Phil, Pegasus, and Meg looked at Athena. Her dress blew softly in the light breeze, and she seemed to consider the question. Finally she spoke. You must go to the underworld and retrieve a lost soul. Meg felt as if the earth beneath her feet had dropped out from under her. Her mouth went dry. The underworld? This had to be a cruel joke. Hera couldn't expect her to travel to the land of the death and be able to return a third time. But we just got her back from there, Phil sputtered. Exactly, Meg wanted to cry, but she was too afraid to speak. Quests are not for the faint of heart, Athena said simply. Hades did not just let the souls come or go. Charon, the ferryman, only shuttled the dead, and if one could get past him, there was Hades' three-headed dog Cerberus at the entrance of the underworld to keep mortals out. This was an impossible task. Meg rubbed the bandages on her arms and tried not to let her fear show. Do you know whose soul I'm looking for? The underworld, unfortunately, is a rather large place. Athena stalked the tip of her sword in the dirt and squared her shoulders. Her name is Katerina. I believe she captured the heart of someone you once loved. Meg felt the world start to spin. Katerina? She reached out for Peg. Her knees felt like they might buckle. Katerina? Phil repeated. Who's Katerina? Meg wasn't sure she could answer the question without letting out an entire new can of worms. He left me for Katerina. Phil scratched his right horn. Hercules? No! Meg felt herself grow impatient. Her chest felt like it was constricting, and it was suddenly hard to breathe. Aegeus. Who is Aegeus? Phil asked. But Meg couldn't speak. Athena had to do it for her. He's the one Megara gave up her soul for.